The show begins showing us a big and peaceful empire called Thundera, which has been ruled by the cat race, called the Thundercats. A young prince called Lion-O sneaks out of the palace along with his pet Snarf, and heads straight to the slum of Thundera. He sees some cats thugs bullying a dog. Although the dog isn't a cat, the young prince feels no one should be treated like that and goes to defend the dog. Lion-O gains the upper hand, but he gets subdued when the thug leader shows up and chokes him on the neck. A mysterious girl called Cheetara comes to Lion-O rescue, and unleashes a very deadly fight skills, sending the thugs running for their lives. She asks the prince what's so important that he would risk his life coming to the slum. Lion-O tells her to keep it a secret, and takes her to see Mumm-Ra, an antique dealer, who sells all kinds of old technological equipment. Just like all the cats in the kingdom, Cheetara believes technology is just fairy tales, but Lion-O however feels the contrary, and he buys a disc-like device from Mumm-Ra. He hears a bell sound and realizes that he is late for his rite of passage ceremony. At the palace, Lion-O father, King Claudius, is growing extremely impatient and irritated with Lion-O's lateness for the rite to passage ceremony, and wishes Lion-O was more like his eldest son Tygra, who doesn't neglect his duties as a prince. Just as Lion-O arrives, the king tells Jaga to proceed with the ceremony immediately. Jaga summons the guardians of the crown to bring the legendary Sword of Omens, marking the start of Lion-O anointment. King Claudius takes the sword, and just as he demonstrates to Lion-O what the sword is capable of, he explains that it was the sword that allowed the Thundercats to build their mighty empire. He continues to narrate that according to the book, it was their ancestors who first defeated Mumm-Ra, and brought law and order to all the various races of warring animals, and it will be up to the future king to maintain this peace. Lion-O tests the sword himself, and as he explores its powers, he sees a vision of a being with diabolical glowing eyes. Both the king and everyone asks him what's wrong, but he chooses not to tell anyone about the vision. After a while, the general called Groon shows up at the palace. King Claudius along with his sons comes out to welcome him. He brings a gigantic crystalline stone as a gift for the king, which is being carried by some chained lizards, but the king's mood changes when he hears the sad news that his other general Panthro was killed in the war. The king had sent General Groon and Panthro to find the Book of Omen. While the book still remains lost, only General Groon was able to return with treasures and more lands to conquer. In order to celebrate Groon's return and Panthro's sacrifice, the king hosts a massive celebration, where his sons Tygra and Lion-O will participate in games to entertain the people. Lion-O sees some kids oppressing some two chained lizards and stops them. One of the lizards begs that their lives should be spared, they were only scavenging for food. The other lizard says he should stop begging, because looking for mercy from cats is just like squeezing water from stones. The lizard explains that they only attack to survive. The cats controls the best lands and resources, leaving the rest of the animals to fight over scraps. They only stole their crops to feed their children. Tygra shows up and tells Lion-O not to take the criminals seriously, and ask him to follow him back to the ceremony as the games is about to begin. While they feast, Lion-O asks General Groon if he saw anything technology on his quest. Groon replies that he encountered all kinds of beasts and warriors, but he didn't see anything resembling technology. The game finally begins. Lion-O and Tygra are to race on a really long vine, and whoever rings the bell first, wins. Lion-O tries his best, but he is no match for Tygra, who kicks him down the river, while Tygra wins the game. After the games, Lion-O sees a crowd of cats trying to persecute the chained lizards. He shows up in front of the crowd and tells them that the lizards don't deserve this treatment, because they have done them no harm. The crowd tries to harm Lion-O for standing in their way, but Tygra comes to defend his little brother. Cheetara also shows up and a fight begins. Tygra uses his whip and teleportation powers to his advantage, while Cheetara uses her speed and stick. The fight goes on until King Claudius shows up, and stops the commotion. Lion-O tells his father that he is just trying to protect them from turning the lizards into the very cold-blooded creature they fear. Ruling the kingdom shouldn't always be by the sword, and maybe they will have less trouble with the lizards if they weren't always oppressing them. The king finally decides to give in to Lion-O's request, and releases the lizards as an act of goodwill. While Lion-O tinkers with the piece of tech that he bought from Mumm-Ra, Tygra scolds him for wasting time with useless junks and for freeing the lizards, as people are saying it's another way for him not taking his heir to the crown seriously. Lion-O replies that they have been at war with the lizards for centuries, and maybe it's time to look at things differently. Lion-O stands by his decision, making Tygra really angry. Later that night, a soldier who is standing on watch, sees a massive army of the lizards approaching the kingdom, and immediately sounded the alarm. This attack comes not even up to a day when King Claudius spared those two lizards, and tells Lion-O to see the results of showing mercy. Quickly, King Claudius tells General Groon and Tygra to come with him as they need to ready their defenses, but tells Lion-O to stay behind. Lion-O sadly tells Jaga that his father has lost faith in him, but Jaga replies that what's more important is that he doesn't lose faith in himself. Just as the lizards begins their attack on the kingdom with various kinds of advanced attacks, the women and children are immediately taken underground for their own safety. King Claudius equips himself with the legendary Sword of Omens, and charges out of the castle with his army to the battlefront. But unknown to them, that gigantic crystalline stone General Grun brought for the king as a gift, contains another massive army of lizard. The lizards comes out and places bomb devices everywhere inside the castle. We come to realize that General Grun is a traitor, and is conspiring with the lizards. That is actually not the only surprise. Tygra and the other Thunderian soldiers try their best to repel the attack, but are overwhelmed when bombs started exploding inside the castle. Missiles are thrown by the lizard army, and they are also being confronted by gigantic mech robots. General Grun reveals to King Claudius that he is the one behind the attack. When the king sent him to look for the Book of Omen, he instead discovered technology and has aligned with the lizards to take over Thundera. Grun reveals that General Panthro is alive, but under his custody. He wants to make a deal with King Claudius, which is him handing over the legendary Sword of Omens in exchange of General Panthro. Just when all seems lost, Jaga and his clerics arrive and attack the lizard army incessantly. By observing one of the lizard soldiers setting a bomb, Lion-O learns that the device that he has is in fact a bomb, and he uses it to attack the lizards to his father's surprise. King Claudius charges towards the lizards using the Sword of Omens, and defeats Grun in a fight. He rushes to free General Panthro from Grun custody, but Panthro stabs the king in the back with his dagger, shocking everyone. King Claudius tells Lion-O that no matter what happens, he made him really proud, and dies. Panthro turns out to be none other than Mumm-Ra in disguise, their ancient enemy. With their king dead and the sword in the hands of their enemies, the lizards wins the war under Mumm-Ra leadership, and the surviving cats are captured and are taken prisoner. While Prince Lion-O and Tyra are inside the cell, Lion-O reveals all these to be his fault, because he formerly saw a vision of Mumm-Ra and the sword, but kept it to himself. Tygra scolds him, angrily saying his decisions is why he is not fit to be king. Those lizards that Lion-O formerly begged his father to free brought them food, but inside the food is a key they can use to escape. While Mumm-Ra tortures Jaga to remove the spell on the Sword of Omens which prevents the sword from being touched by evil, Lion-O retakes the sword and blasts Mumm-Ra with it. Lion-O, Tygra and Cheetara escape with Jaga, but Jaga decides to stay behind to hold of the lizards, chasing them to buy Lion-O, Tygra and Cheetah time to escape. But before that, Jaga advises Lion-O to find the Book of Omens before Mumm-Ra does. In the midst of Thundera destruction, Lion-O, Tygra and Cheetah hold a funeral for their fallen king, Claudius. After cremating his father, Lion-O uses the Sword of Omens to carve the Thundercat's insignia in the stone base of Claudius' destroyed statue. He then decides to look for Mumm-Ra and avenge his father. Even though Tygra and Cheetara feel that they should follow Jaga's last order to locate the Book of Omens, they have no choice but to follow their new king Lion-O. As the three of them begin their journey, they come across two street cats called WilyKat and WilyKat, who survived the attack. The twins reveal they are looking for the lost city of El Dara. Despite Lion-O refusing to babysit them on their journey, the two still tag along. After walking for so many days across strange and tough terrain, the group arrive at the Sand Sea, a huge ocean of sand. They are excited to see food in the sand, and as they rush to consume it out of hunger, they all get caught in a trap set by the fishmen. The fishermen are led by a captain called Cornelius Tunar, who reveals to the cats that they plan to eat them. Just as they are about to do that, a gigantic sand beast called Romlak attacks their ship and everybody starts to attack the creature. Yono and his crew manage to free themselves and assist the fishermen. Upon seeing the Thunder Cat's fighting skills against the Romlak, the fisherman captain, Cornelius Tunar, is impressed, and allows the cats to join his crew. Tunar and Lion-O, who is now also filled with the same vengeful obsession as Tunar, steer the ship straight into a raging storm where the Romlak attacks them, destroying their ship in the process. While Tunar continues to blindly go after the monstrous sea creature, Lion-O chooses to rescue the crew. Tunar gets dragged by the creature to his death, never to be seen again. The Romlak comes out and swallows Lion-O. The young prince, however, makes his escape by slicing open the belly of the beast with the Sword of Omens. This causes all water of the fishman's oasis home that the Romlak had drank to spill out onto the sands, recreating the oasis for the surviving crew. Lion-O, impressed by how well WilyKat and WilyKat handled themselves in battle, allows the duo to join the Thundercats in their journey to locate the Book of Omens. Deep in the heart of the Black Pyramid, Mumm-Ra and Grun continue to torture Jaga to make him to reveal the location of the Book of Omens. When Jaga clears out that he prefers to die than to reveal the book location, Mumm-Ra traps him inside a magic lantern, claiming that the dark and evil powers within the lantern will force Jaga to reveal the book's location. Just as he does that, a beam of light shoots out of the lantern, acting as pointer to the location of the Book of Omens. Just as the Thunder Cats camp in the forest, they notice an army of lizards with tech suits looking for them. They will all die in the process from taking such number of lizards on their own, so Lion-O suggests they retreat, even though Tygra feels that they should fight the approaching threat because that's what their father would do. Inside the forest, the Thundercats finds hundreds of creatures singing in the forest. They are called the peddlers, a species of anthropomorphic flowers who live out their entire lifetime in a single day. The peddlers are scared when they saw the Thundercats, but Lion-O cracks a joke making them not to see the Thundercats as threats. The peddlers tells the Thundercats that they actually come from a far-off paradise called the Garden. But one day, a great disaster befell their people. A terrible wind ripped through their homeland and swept up the entire peddlers' race, carrying them all across the sky and bringing them here, Briar Woods, and they have remained here stranded for generations. The peddlers tells the Thundercats that the only way they can get back to their homeland is to reach the Cliffs of Wind so that they can ride the winds back to their place of origin, the Garden. Lion-O befriends a young peddler named Embark and agrees to help the peddlers to reach the Cliffs of Wind. As they near the end of their journey, the Thundercats are attacked by a diazony of lizards. The peddlers could not watch this happen and decided to fight the lizards, allowing the cats to defeat their lizards. Having grown frustrated, Slithe, the commander of the lizards, sends his army to the forest to burn it down in order to drive out the cats. The fire turns out to be a blessing in disguise for the peddlers as they are able to escape the Briar Woods by riding the updrafts of the fire. Having been filled with hope by the words of Embark, who dies in his arms from old age, Lion-O now decides to face and fight the lizard army. After chanting the Thundercats' call and emitting the cat signal from the Sword of Omens, Lion-O and the others attack the lizard army head-on. Despite fighting courageously, the cats are quickly outnumbered and surrounded. Just when all hope seems lost, a moving vehicle shows up and destroys the mech suits of the lizard army, forcing them to retreat. The person comes out from the car and it is revealed to be Panthro. And that was how this episode ended. Thank you for watching, guys. If you love animation movies, please subscribe to this channel and keep watching. Bye.